Bickley and Marotta. Bickley and Marotta mornings. Arizona sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
You don't need to watch The Lion King to know that life comes full circle. Just check out your NFL franchise. On September 12th, 1988, the Cardinals played their first regular season home game in the state of Arizona, and the debut came against the Cowboys, and Cardinal players were stunned when they emerged from the tunnel at Sun Devil Stadium and were lost in a sea of silver and blue. In fact, that night, three of our new stars, Vi Sikahema, Roy Green, and Stump Mitchell, ran onto the field together, and they were roundly booed. Welcome to Arizona, folks, and some 25 years later, we're back in the Twilight Zone. And that's because Sunday's game against Dallas will feel the same way. The Cowboys are one of the better teams in the NFL. The Cardinals are trying to embark on a new era, and the stadium will be overrun with Cowboy fans. It has the makings and the markings of a hellscape nightmare in Arizona. But it's also a great opportunity for this new team and regime, because if the Cardinals can be stout and stoic and stand tall in the midst of this incoming maelstrom, they might win over our hearts, maybe even shame the profiteers, enabling all these infidels that have turned the Red Sea into the Dead Sea. Anyway, back in 1988, Gene Stallings was the Cardinals head coach, and he once said the funny thing about respect is that it's not given. It has to be earned. Jonathan Gannon's crew will certainly get that chance on Sunday. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
Circle of Life.
Circle of Life, Simba and Not Savannah. You want to sing that for us, Jarrett? All right, do you want to know what else people were saying about our football team in 1988, since this Sunday really is sort of a full circle moment for the franchise?
I was at that game, Vic.
Were you really?
I
Okay, I
was.
can't wait to hear your thoughts on this.
This is 35 years ago.
Oh,
Yes.
I said 25?
No, I'm just doing the math in my own head.
Oh, no, I messed that up. No, wait, 88, 12, and 23. 35, you're right,
Yeah.
35 years ago. My bad. Fact error.
I appreciate you trying to make it only 25.
It feels like 20 years ago should be
5 years ago.
Should be the 80s.
Okay. The New York Times did a story in advance of this football game. And I went back and I read it, and it was fascinating. You want to hear a couple of highlights of what was going on?
Please, I love this stuff.
In this sports market 35 years ago, as this football team comes full circle.
This was so long ago, the New York Times still had a sports desk.
Babe, quote, "For weeks, the club was the league's laughingstock for having an unlisted telephone number because of a complicated mess over tickets. When the defunct Arizona Outlaws of the United States Football League folded, Outlaws season ticket holders, about 11,800 of them, were promised first crack at season tickets if an NFL franchise ever came to Phoenix. In addition, 53,000 Arizona State University season ticket holders demanded first crack at season tickets since the Cardinals were using the school stadium. That left other fans irate." That was what's...
ASU had 53,000 season ticket holders.
Wow.
Isn't that something? So this is what was being talked about back then. This grab, this wild land grab for Cardinal tickets. They belong to us. We get first dibs. No, you don't. We do. It's our stadium. No, it's not. It's ours.
Yeah, it wasn't the smoothest move to a new city. Considering, too, that not only did it start with a handshake deal, hey, you come to Phoenix, you'll get a new stadium. They had to wait 18 years for that to become a reality.
Next paragraph from the New York Times. Quote, "Another scrap unfolded when 9 Tempe city officials found themselves in court for a deal made in a secret meeting that allowed the Cardinals use of a city parking lot in exchange for 20 season tickets. And just last week, more controversy arose when Arizona state officials banned beer at the stadium and in tailgate parties for tonight's game because it's being played on a school night."
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Don't you love that?
What was the thinking on that?
That is what, if we were doing a radio show in 1980, these would be the topics we'd be talking about today.
Yeah, some of that vague reminders, but yeah, at that, and the transition to the play that anybody who was at that game remembers a single play that stands out as the early, kind of a symbol of the early dysfunction of the then Phoenix Cardinals. And that was right before halftime, the Cardinals attempting a field goal. And instead of kicking the field goal with Al Del Greco as their kicker, they attempted maybe the most cockamamie fake field goal that's ever been conceived. Because time had run out, and the holder flipped the ball to the kicker, Al Del Greco, over his shoulder, with hopes that he would run 45 yards for a touchdown. Al Del Greco was a really good golfer, but not much of a runner.
No,
What do you get?
Of an athlete.
What do you get? About 41, 42 yards, and then got tackled.
About 41 inches.
Yeah.
And everybody, they went
Right.
into the break, and everybody was like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
That
It's funny that you were there.
That was kind
So
of.
do you remember how many Cowboys fans were there?
There was a lot.
So do you think that this Sunday
The Cowboys were garbage at that point, though. By the way,
Okay.
will this be the worst ever? Then
I think it might be. Given the fact of
I
how
don't know.
good the Cowboys are.
I don't know.
No?
I mean, the early '90s Super Bowl teams, when they came to Sun Devil Stadium, and I've said this before, and it was absolutely true. I could not, even as a Cardinal fan / season ticket holder, I could not stomach to be in the facility because it was almost a 100% takeover. Because they were on the top of the world, and the Cardinals were still the laughingstock of the league at that point. It was painful.
So I do think that in that regard, I think this is an opportunity for Jonathan Gannon and this coaching staff. And yet there's another thing that has been pointed out. Because the early season effectiveness of the Cardinals, the fact that they're not an embarrassment, it's a thing. It's part of what's happening before our eyes. As has been pointed out, the first 3 games of Jonathan Gannon's head coaching career comes against teams that were in his division.
Yes.
So people are pointing out there's a reason why this team is 2-0 ATS, because there's familiarity here. So it's something to consider. But I think if this Cardinals team can stand up strong and play a close, low-scoring game against this Cowboys team, then respect will be earned, not given.
To go back to Gene Stallings.
Exactly.
I had no idea he came up with that phrase.
Well, I'm sure he just kind of abridged it because he talked like from Louisville. Right. He did. Kind of had that, that southern kind of bubbly drawl.
Yes. To Jarrett's point, though, it's going to be jarring. Mm-hmm. And if you're headed to the stadium and you're wearing Cardinal red, kudos to you. I'm not telling you what to do with your tickets, what to do with your finances, but it's going to be a pretty daunting challenge for the home team.
Mm-hmm. Putting it mildly.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a number of ways, by the way.